What's up, everybody? I wanted to take a minute and just welcome you to our first online church experience. And I know things are going to look a little bit different today, but the most important thing is that you are here, you are logged in, you are connected, and we're going to take some time together today and we're just going to worship. And you have to know that, of course, worship is going to look a little bit different today. And I think we have this tendency as we kind of face all the fears of this coronavirus and all the uncertainty that a lot of times we can begin to pull away. And I want to encourage you in these next few moments, maybe for the first time as we're kind of forced to do this, I want you to hold tightly to your family and really begin to intimately worship God with all of your heart. This is an opportunity for us to really display to our kids what it means to worship. And so as things look a little bit different, please don't go away, tune in, stay connected, and begin worshiping, because what God is going to do in these next few weeks or months, however long this is going to be, I think is going to be incredible, and it's really forcing us to rely on Him. That being said, I wanted to give you a few quick updates on some things going on at church throughout this week, so that way you know and you are connected. We're not just going to leave it to Sunday morning service. We want you guys to have the opportunity to connect all week. And so every day, I want to go over the schedule with you again. Every day, we're going to have stuff for your whole family. So beginning at 8 o'clock in the morning, you can tune in live with one of our pastors as we are going to begin leading you through a morning devotion. And so each week, we'll take you through a 5-day series. So grab your Bible, grab a cup of coffee. If you want to sit in your pajamas, go ahead. We just want to take some time and start our day right in the middle of all the chaos, in the middle of all the craziness, and give some time to God and really start our day the way He intended us to. Then at 10 a.m., if you've got kids and you are part of our North Kids ministry, we're going to take some time and we're just going to minister to you. You know, we're going to have some activities for your kids. We're going to have, for you moms, we're going to have some recipes and some cooking things and maybe just some tips on how do I survive this time as we're home with our kids and there's so much uncertainty. So at 10 o'clock every day, our North Kids Children's Ministry directors are going to bring stuff to you and we're going to be ministering to you. We're going to put activities out, videos out. So there will be a lot of stuff for you guys as well. Then at noon, we're all just we're going to pause. We're going to take a pause as a church and we're just going to spend some time in prayer. And so what that means is beginning at 11:50 a.m. every day, you can log into Facebook and you can begin sending in your prayer requests. We're going to take those and then live, we will begin praying for those. We will pray for our church. We'll be praying for the state of our country. So you can begin praying them. If you don't have Facebook and maybe you're watching this on YouTube or someone shared it with you, you can text in your prayer requests as well. So you're going to text in our prayer to 797979, and that's going to allow us to know what those prayer requests are. And then we just want to take some time, like I said, and just give them to the Lord. You know, and this is a time where we are desperate for Him. And so at noon every day you can tune in with us and we're going to take that breath and we're just going to begin praying. Then at 6 o'clock, you know, in the middle of all this, we really feel like we need to have some fun. If there's anything that you know about NorthRoad, it's that we do a lot of things different and we like to have a lot of fun. And so at 6 o'clock every day, we're going to have our Family 5 and Church Challenges. So this is just going to be some fun, lighthearted games, activities. We're going to be asking you guys to record some videos, take some pictures at home, send them in. We're going to have campus-wide challenges. So each campus can earn points. We're going to be picking winners for each of these events that we are doing. It's just going to be a great opportunity for us as a church and for you as families in the middle of everything to kind of sit down, have some fun, and remember that God is fully in control of this situation. And then at 7:30 p.m., we're going to turn things over to our student ministry directors. And if you know them at all, things are just going to get crazy. They're going to get outrageous. So 7:30 every day, we're going to have the Refuge Not So Late Night show. And so they're going to be doing things from just eating weird foods to interviewing random guests to having a weekly Bible study. There's going to be a ton of stuff for you and for your students to get involved. All that being said, you're going to have an opportunity here in the next few moments to really worship. And I said at the beginning, and I want to say it again, take this moment serious. In these next 30 seconds, I want you to grab your Bibles. I want you to grab your kids, grab your spouse, get together and just prepare your hearts for worship. It's going to look different than a normal Sunday morning service, but I want you to understand that in this moment, we have two options. We can either run from Him or we can run to Him. So wherever you're at, wherever you're watching this, grab your family, take the next 30 seconds and prepare to worship.
There's a grace when the heart is under fire. Another way when the walls are closing in. And when I look at the space between where I used to be and this reckoning, I know I will never be alone. There was another in the fire standing next to me. There was another in the waters holding back the seas. Should I ever need reminding of how I've been set free, there is a cross that bears the burden where another died for me. Is another in the fire.
Sin anymore. Should I fall in the space between what remains of me and this reckoning? Either way, I won't bow to the things of this world. And I know I will never be alone. There is another in the fire standing next to me. The seas. Should I ever need a reminder of power set me free? There is a grave that holds nobody. Now the power lives in me. There is another in the fire. Whoa, there is another in the fire. I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between the west and I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us.
There is no other name but the name that is Jesus. He who was and still is and will be through it all. So come on, me in the space between all the things unseen and this reckoning. I know I will never be alone. Yes, I know I will never be alone. There'll be another in the fire standing next to me. There'll be another in the waters holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding, how good you've been to me, I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. And I can see the light in the darkness as the darkness bows to him. I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between west and I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. There'll be another in the
I ever need reminding how good you've been to me. I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. Love how that line applies to every single one of us right now. I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. So as we sit here right now, in this crazy battle that we've never seen the likes of before, let's be sure of one thing, that our God is with us. He hasn't left us. He's not gonna forsake us. He's with us right now. Let's be sure of that. Let's sing this. I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be.
You know, one of the things that song we just sang reminded me of is that there is no circumstance, there is no situation, there is nothing that happens that God is not fully in control of. And I think in a time like this, we have this tendency to want to hold tightly to everything that we have. And I have to tell you, just as a church and just being honest, in order for us to do ministry, we need everybody to be faithful. We need everybody to continue to do the things that God has called them to do. You know, He doesn't call us to be obedient only when it's easy. He doesn't call us to be obedient when things go the way we expect them to go. He just calls us to be obedient because He is worthy of that obedience. And so we wanted to give you an opportunity, because a lot of people have been asking, you know, how do we continue to give? Should we continue to give during this time? The answer to that question is a resounding yes. You should absolutely continue to give, because not because you want this place to have things, but simply because you understand that God has called us to live a life of obedience. And so we're going to share with you a couple different ways that you can give during this time. If you want to mail a physical check to the church, you absolutely can. So here in a moment, you'll see we're going to post the address for the church where you can send that. Number two, you can download the Church Center app, and we'll post a picture of that as well. Download the Church Center app, and you can do all of your online giving there. You can update your profile. There's a lot of things that you can do with that app. We're also going to share with you a QR code that you can scan from your phone, and it will take you to the online giving link. And so the most important thing is just know, in this time, don't run away from Him. Lean in as close as you can to Him and begin to let go of the things He's called you to let go of. This is our opportunity to be obedient and to live faithfully in a really uncertain and unknown time. And I think the true test of our faith doesn't come in the moments when things go according to plan, but they come in the moments where we just don't know what's going to happen. And this is our opportunity to remind God and to remind ourselves how much our faith in Him is founded on the rock and not on the sinking sand. And so I want to give you guys that opportunity. We're going to share the links. Please, in this time, remain faithful. Remain faithful, because He is faithful.
Well, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. We are week one of our new life and our new normal that we call this coronavirus thing where we're having to stay home. And as we begin it, and we started, I know there's a ton of questions. I know there's questions about what life is gonna be like. I know there's questions about finances. I know there's questions about how am I gonna deal with my kids in this entire situation going on, and how am I gonna last this long? I'm gonna lose my mind. How are we gonna, as a family, stay in one cooped up place for this long? There are so many questions that come with this. And questions are a unique thing because questions left unanswered or unable to be answered at one point in time or another start making our minds wander and do things they shouldn't. One great example of that is when I was a little kid, I think 5th grade, I got an opportunity to go stay at a friend of mine, Jason's house. And as I was going over there to stay, his dad was not like my dad. When I was a kid, my parents were like, there's Satan worship, there's MTV, and there's HBO. And those are the 3 worst things that you can get yourself involved in mid-1985, right? And so I went to Jason Cannon's house, and while I'm standing at his house for the night, his dad goes, hey, why don't you guys watch a horror movie off HBO? And I'm like a little kid, I'm going, wow, my parents never let me do that. I want to do that. And so me and Jason, we sit down with his dad and we start watching, I won't name the movie because I don't want to scare your kids, but we start watching the most horrific movie that they probably came out with mid-1980s, right there in the middle of Jason's living room. After the movie's over, they take me back to my house, I get in bed, and as I'm laying there, all the thoughts of what I just experienced and what I just saw, I am positively, without a shadow of a doubt, convinced it's living under my bed. That these arms are gonna come up from under my bed and they're going to grab me. And in that moment, when that happened, I did only thing that I knew how to do, and that was scream as loud as I could, Mom and Dad! And my mom and dad come running, they're like, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? And I have to confess to them that I've watched this really horrible horror flick, and then all of a sudden I'm terrified that I'm convinced these unknown things that I cannot see are gonna get me. And as I think about that, here's how that relates to what we're going through right now. We are living in a time and a day in which we are dealing with something that's unseen. We don't know how to function. We don't know how to be people that deal with this because it's not seeable, it's intangible. And we watch things on the news and we watch what everybody has to say about it, and it gets us extremely worked up, and then all of a sudden we start going, oh my gosh, what do I do? And a lot of people, your response to what do I do is go back to the news and go back to the media and go back to the news source and read things that you don't even know that are true off of Facebook. And I think there's this catapult effect of how we just get more and more and more and more worked up. And what I would say to you in this time is it's incredibly important of who you surround yourself with when you're living in this day. And as we talk about things, there's a lot of important things we're going to talk about going forward, but this is probably one of the most important. Who you surround yourself with right now is paramount to how you're going to respond in this situation. Just to give you a couple verses, Galatians 6:2. It says, carry each other's burdens, and in this way, you will be like Christ. Or how about Proverbs 27:17? As iron sharpens iron, so the right person sharpens another person. How about Proverbs 18:24? One who has unreliable friends soon will come to ruin. Unreliable friends, like our media, like people who have a ton of anxiety, who feed fear into us. Those people will sooner or later cause us to come to ruin. But there is a friend that is a good friend, and when they're great, they stick closer than a brother. Have you ever thought about why that is? Have you ever thought about why the right friend makes a huge difference? Let me give you another story. When I was about 2 years ago, Micah calls me up on the phone, and he's going through some things in his life, and he goes, I want to buy a dog. And I'm like, no, we don't need a dog. No, Dad, come on, let me buy this dog. If you buy this dog, or let me buy this dog, I promise you, man, I'll take care of it. I'll feed it. I'll do everything for it. It's a great dog. I met it at the rescue. Dad, it just lays there. Well, I think the rescue had drugged it with Benadryl because this is the worst dog on planet Earth. It was no longer at my house for maybe 3 minutes when it walked over to the whitest rug we have in the whole place and takes the biggest number 2 you've ever seen, not dry, gooey, gross, all over our brand new white rug. And I thought, well, that's not a good start. And over a series of days, this dog is just the biggest pain in the tail. You can't tell it no. It gets up in your face. It licks all over you. You shove it off. It comes right back. It's like a leech. And worse than that, every single time this dog gets excited, it just goes to the bathroom. And so like 3 or 4 times we've had people that in our family that are just sitting on the couch and they'll get up as fast as they can because the dog is going on them. I swear this is a true story. I was sitting on my couch just a couple weeks ago and I'm reading the paper and the dog had walked in the room and I hear what sounds like rain hitting the ceiling of the house and I'm like, we have a leak somewhere. And I look down and that dog's going on my shoe. Or 3 days ago, this is no lie, 3 days ago, my wife is sitting on the couch, we're watching movies, and as we're watching, I look over, and the dog lifted its leg and went on my wife. And now, some of you are thinking, well, why in the world would you have this dog? We have this dog because now that it's been here long enough, if we get rid of it, it's gonna traumatize our little kids. And so we don't have a choice but just to keep the stupid dog. But the worst part about this dog is that this dog has a tendency that if you leave the door even cracked open, it bolts, and it is the fastest running dog you've ever seen in your life. And it just bolts out the window, or out the door rather, and it goes as fast as it can, and it can go one of 1,000 directions. And so when we have to catch this dog, we send one person to the woods, we send one person down the street towards the gas station, we send another person down the street the other direction, we send another person over to Cherry Street in case it runs through the woods and gets over there, and we split in 1,000,000 different directions. Now, why do I tell you that? Because when you have a force and you don't know the direction it's coming from, you need a bunch of people to help you accomplish your goal of containing and controlling this terrible dog. It's the same way when we're dealing with our minds. The more people that I have around me, that are my friends, that are sharpening me, that are making me better as a person, that are calming me down, that are speaking truth to me, those people are speaking life into me. And it takes a lot of them. Because I gotta tell you, when I'm laying in bed that night, I'm going crazy in my mind after watching that movie. I'm going, oh my gosh, I don't know how in the world I'm gonna sleep tonight. All I had was these pictures and images of arms coming up and grabbing me and dragging me under the bed. I'm terrified. I'm not thinking rationally. And I need help. Same way with my dog. When that dog bolts out and there's 1,000 different directions it can go, I'm thinking, I need an army of people right now because if I'm the only one, there's no way I'm gonna be able to wrangle this thing. Nobody can wrangle their thoughts when life is crazy and out of control without help from other people. And so I ask you, as we walk into this situation where everything's very unknown, and there's so many things going on in your life that you just aren't sure of, who is speaking into your life? Are they healthy for you? Are they challenging you? Are they giving you a clear understanding of who Christ is in your life, what he wants to do in you, and are they speaking to you in a way that calms you? Or are they speaking in a way that just gets you riled up and worked up and going? Because the people that speak into your life right now are some of the most important things to you, and you may or may not even realize it. I want to show you why. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 24, I've said this verse many times in this church. I think now is the time to repeat it and just remind you. He who walks with the wise becomes wise. Let me say that again. He who walks with wise people will become a wise person. But the company of a fool suffers harm. Let's change it just a little bit, because what God is saying is, who you hang out with, you will become. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. If all you do is hang out with people who fret and are worried and are convinced that they're gonna lose their 401k and lose their job and lose their home, guess what you're gonna begin to believe? Exactly what they're saying. Imagine, here's a great illustration for it. Imagine on the night that I'm laying in bed And I'm convinced these arms are gonna come up and they're gonna grab me, these unknown, unseen arms that I'm convinced I just watched on HBO with Jason, right? And I call out to somebody to help me. And the person that comes is the person who is terrified of movies and convinced that the people that were on the movie that I just watched were real. And when I look at them and I say, hey, I need help, I'm so scared, they would look at you and go, well, you need to be scared. Oh my gosh, that movie you watched, that's so real. Those people are gonna come. You need to stay awake all night. Don't go to sleep. Would that help me? No, that would terrify me. I would be riddled with fear. Or here's another one. Imagine if all the people in this room, or in the, I'm so used to speaking in this room, all the people that are in the TV land right now, in your living room, all the people that thought it was stupid that I still have this dog. Imagine if it was you that I asked to go help me find my dog. You'd be like, let it run. Who cares? It's a horrible dog. It pees on you. Why would you want it? And you would give a half effort of helping me find it. But I don't need you in that moment. I need the people who love dogs. I need the people who are passionate about dogs, because if I don't find that dog, my 2-year-old, my 3-year-old, my 4-year-old, 5-year-old, they aren't gonna understand. And so it's really important that I get that dog back, but not to a person that it's not important to. He who walks with those with anxiety will become a person with greater anxiety. He who walks with people full of fear will become a person that is incredibly full of fear. And so I ask you again, in the last 7 to 10 days, as this thing has kicked off, who surrounds your mind? Who is a part of your life? Who is speaking into your life? And what are they speaking? Are they speaking what they heard on Facebook? Or are they speaking the truths of God that do not change? Are they telling you that God has saved you, that he has a plan for your life, that even if this world were to end, eternity is still there, and this is a blip and just a season? That if you're a Christian, you have so much more to live for, and though it's scary right now, it's gonna get better. Which person is talking life into you? It matters so much, because look at this verse again. He who walks with the wise become wise, but the company of a fool is harmed. And some of you, you're hanging out with foolish, scared, anxiety-filled people, and you will come to ruin for it. It will affect your walk. It'll affect your mind. It'll affect your health. It'll affect your family, unless you grab control and you surround yourself with people who are speaking healthy truth into your life. I want to show you this in scripture just for a second, and then we're going to be done. Acts chapter 2, verse 42. And let me tell you what's going on. Jesus has just left the scene to go back to heaven. He was crucified. He came back for 40 days. He hung out with the disciples. He gave them some final instructions, and he left. Peter and the other disciples are now trying to lead forward. And in the middle of this leading forward, always in the back of their mind, is the unknown. Am I gonna be the next Jesus that hangs on the cross? Am I gonna be the next person that they throw rocks at? Am I gonna be the next person that they kill? And at the same time, they know in their minds they have to move forward. And so they come up with this incredible idea to start the church in homes, kind of like what we're doing today. And here's what it says they did. And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to truth that is eternal, to truth that does not change. They devoted themselves to fellowship, talking with people who understand that truth does not change, talking to people who have a relationship with Christ, talking to people who are grounded, solid people in their life. They committed themselves to praying together and breaking bread and having communion together. And they prayed together. And what this did was almost cathartic in the lives of the people who were involved in this. They were becoming people who were healthy. And I want you to read what happened. And as they did this, verse 43, awe came upon every person. You know what awe is? Awe is the opposite of fear. Awe is the opposite of being scared. Awe is, wow, I am so blown away by this moment, I don't even know what to say. It goes further though. And many wonders and signs were being done. And all who believed together, they had everything in common all of a sudden. They weren't fighting. One of the things you'll notice in this time among people who are scared is you're gonna find people who are just out of their minds terrified. I had a friend of mine on Facebook, his name's Mina, he lives in Atlanta, and I'm gonna show you a picture here in just a second. It's gonna come up on your screen. A picture of a person in front of them buying all the chicken out of the Walmart that he's in. I mean, they must have bought 100 packages. When you see this picture, it'll blow your way. And I got angry when I saw it. I was like, man, who would have the nerve to do that? Let me tell you who would have the nerve to do that. Somebody who had fear by the people that surrounded them, spoken into their life so much that they became massive takers. Notice in this scripture that when they came together, they all had something in common. They became people who loved one another, who thought about each other. That it was like their anxiety lowered and they became healthy. And they sold their possessions. Look at this. They didn't just become healthy. They sold their possessions and their belongings and distributed it to the people that had need. No longer were they buying all the chicken in Walmart. They were finding people who needed chicken and giving it to them. Now listen to this. And day by day, they attended together and talked about God in the temple, breaking bread in their homes, and they received their food with glad and generous hearts. In other words, they became glad, they became awestruck, they became generous. They praised God, having favor with all people, and the Lord continued to add people like them into their group. In other words, this, in the most crazy, unrecognizable moment of their life, sound familiar? They became people that were awestruck by God. They became people that were generous because of God. They became people that were glad because of God. And why did that happen? Because they surrounded themselves with people who would speak God-sized truth into their life. I don't know who speaks into yours, but I'm here to tell you, you've got to get the right voices around your life, because he who walks with the wise will become wise. But the company of a fool will suffer for it. Don't suffer. Connect. Here in a second, Sean's gonna come up and he's gonna give you instructions on how to connect in a small group immediately following this video. And I know some of you, you're going, the last thing I need is another video or another small group. I'm good, man, I'm okay. You're good today. But will you be good at Tuesday at 6 o'clock when the next newscast comes on and just fills you with anxiety? You're good today, but will you be good when you spend too many hours in your home and as a mom, you're going crazy? You're good today, but as a dad who's trying to prepare and provide for your family, are you gonna be okay when you find out the first time that maybe your check didn't add up to as much as it should have? What you need to do is realize he who walks with the wise becomes wise. He who doesn't suffers for it. And start today connecting with people, because you know the anxious moments are going to come. And when they come, you're gonna need wisdom. You're gonna need God's holy word spoken into your life by somebody who is at a level place, because you don't feel level at all. Do not forsake this moment. Iron sharpens iron. And as Sean gets ready to tell you on how to join a small group, just do this with me for a second. Take a deep breath. Humble yourself. And say, God, put me with people who will make me what you want me to be in this very unknown time. And God, when the arms start coming outside the bed and I scream, God, give me people that when I scream, they speak truth to me. That doesn't amp me up and make me more scared, but teaches me that God is in charge and that I'm okay. Let me pray for you. Jesus, would you just move inside these homes in the next few minutes? That God, as these people go into these small groups on Zoom, that they would have people that they could be real with. That God, they would have people that they could just share their anxiety with, and those people would give them scriptures in return that would grow them and challenge them and calm them. May they be wisdom for people right now who desperately need your wisdom. In your name I pray, amen.
In the darkness, we were waiting without hope, without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes to fulfill the law and prophets. To a virgin came the word, from a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt. And praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. And God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings.
To reveal the kingdom coming and to reconcile the lost, to redeem the whole creation. You did not despise the cross, for even in your suffering you saw to the other side, knowing this was our salvation. Jesus, for our sake you died. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. In the morning that you rose, all of heaven held its breath, till that stone was moved for good, for the Lamb had conquered death. And the dead was from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe, for the souls of all who'd come to the Father are restored.
And the church of Christ was born. Then the Spirit lit the flame. Now this gospel truth of old shall not kneel and shall not fade. By His blood and in His name, in His freedom I am free. For the love of Jesus Christ, oh, is resurrecting me.
Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings.
So where do we go from here? You know, we hear a message like this in a time like this, and really we have an opportunity to either, like Matt when he was a kid, find ourselves laying in the bed just paralyzed with fear, or we can find a moment of humility and, like he did, cry out to someone for help. This is your opportunity. You know, every Sunday, as long as this coronavirus stuff goes on and as long as the government and the CDC are telling us that we can't meet, we want to give you guys the opportunity to have connection points. And so if you haven't already been contacted by somebody who is hosting a group, we're hosting these groups on Zoom. It's like a video conferencing thing. And so we have this opportunity to meet in small groups. It's going to look a little bit different, but we hope that you guys will bear with us, that you'll engage, that you'll connect, that you will stay tuned in, because this is our opportunity to make a really odd and uncertain time a little bit more normal. And so if you haven't been contacted by somebody who is starting one of these groups, here's what I want you to do. We're gonna post a link and you can reply to that link. And this is going to help us get you plugged in. I know the Harvester campus, Greg is going to be leaving himself open this week for groups. And so we'll post a link to the meeting ID so that you can get connected there. And then if you're part of the Moscow Mills campus and you don't have a group to join for this week, I'm going to leave myself open as well. And so my wife and I will be hosting a group immediately following the service. And we're just going to meet and we're going to talk about the message and we're going to pray for each other and we're going to walk through some of these things. But the most important thing for you to do at this moment is get connected. In a time when everyone is really almost being mandated to isolate, we serve a God who is so much bigger than the fear. We serve a God who is so much bigger than all of this quarantine and isolation, and he wants us to connect. And so in this moment, we're going to share some links for you guys to get connected. Take advantage of them. If you guys have questions, reach out to us. If you want to host a group, let us know. Reply in the messages, reply in the comments, whatever you have to do. But don't allow yourself to be isolated in this time. Don't allow yourself to be controlled by fear. Reach out, get connected, and start taking the steps to do this thing the way God has intended us to do it. So here in a moment, you're going to see some questions pop up on the screen. And as those questions are there, just as you are in your groups, take some time and walk through these. Take some time and just talk about what life looks like in your home in this time, and then begin praying for each other. The best thing that we can do in this moment is to connect, to pray for each other, and to lean in as close as we possibly can, understanding that God is so much bigger than this moment. Just trust him. Just trust him.